Here's a short video to describe what I'm going to be doing with my W124. As you will recall, earlier I switched the M103 engine from the mechanical CIS injection system to EFI using a hand-built Speeduino. That was a Arduino Mega based electronic fuel injection controller, which is inexpensive and quite easy to get into for a beginner. So but since then, due to the nature of the M103 engines, there's a limit to how far you can go with them in terms of efficiency. It's a 2-valve per cylinder, low compression. I think it's about 9.2, ratio 1 injection. So the EFI got it a little bit more efficient, but ultimately it would be a good idea to switch over to a more modern engine. So that's what I'm going to be doing with the car. So I'll be switching to the M111.975 engine. That's the compressor engine, the one with the supercharger, the M62 supercharger. I think the engine is from the CLK 230. I think that's the native car the engine comes from. So it's used in some other applications too. I think the CLK used it. That's the W208. The W202 used it, and the W210, and also the W203. I think that was the last application for it. Although that one can't be retrofitted into other chassis because the sump is located a little bit more backward. So the one from the 202, from the 210, will fit in a W124 chassis. So that's why I chose the W208 version with the M62 supercharger. So which I plan to change the pulley on it, eventually. So at least to get a little more boost out of it, unlike the one with the M45, which is close to its limit already. So the plan now is I've let me just say, gotten into EFI with the Speeduino, and because of its cost and some, the nature of it generally, it's there are limitations to it. But the M11 engine that I'll be using uses a drive-by-wire throttle. So although I could change that to a mechanical one, but the M11 also requires, the compressor version requires a way to bleed off boost when you come off throttle, so which is done electronically. So I would need something to control that too. So that's why I decided to spring for a more advanced and decidedly more expensive controller. So I got, I don't know how I even got about this. I think I was just browsing the web and came across this ECU. You see it right here. So this is the LPC8 controller. It's by Baldur Gislason. He's a guy from Iceland. So the guy is on a genius level. I think that about sums him up. Anyway, so this will do drive-by-wire throttle. It will also control with an external motor HB controller, it can also control the boost controller for the engine. So it's based on USB, has about 16 high, low, how do I describe this, low side, about 16 low side outputs. Those can be used for injectors, some other loads, so that, meaning you control it from the ground side. That's what it means. So it also has 8 ignition outputs, although those are logic level, and loads and loads of inputs. I think I forgot the number right now. Has 2 dedicated inputs, for crank and cam. It has speed input for speed. It also has an inbuilt wideband controller for the LSU 4.9 sensor. So it's once you have this, you just don't need anything else. And so I just decided to spring for it. I got it around December, so it got shipped to me by January. I think the first week of January I got it. So it's very, very advanced. For the price I got it, it's a steal. So as compared to the Mega Squared, a parallel would have been the ECU Master, but they are a little bit more expensive. I think the only thing I would see they have over this controller would be the casing. Those are I think the casing on the ECU Master, you can install it inside the hood, in the engine compartment, a little bit away from the heat anyway, but it's water resistant. And I plan on making this water resistant by applying a little bit of gasket to this side and then sealing up the connector, but I wouldn't be putting it in anywhere where it's in danger of getting soaked. It will be where the original ECU for W124 is located, and it will be well insulated from rain and all those things. I plan on doing that. So, but I do not want to run wiring back into the car, creates for a mess. So I think that's the plan for that anyway. So this will be what will be controlling the engine. It's almost an overkill, so I like it that way. So this was my toy for Christmas. So now I would also be switching from manual gear to automatic. The gear will be the 722.6 Mercedes. That's 5-speed automatic. It's electronically shifted. So, and it is a very reliable engine, at least so far. Reliable automatic gear. That's what, at least from people that have been using it that I have seen, and from word on the internet. So that's what I'll be using. So I'll be going from manual to this. The decision for that was based on that. To use the manual for the M11, I would need a dual mass. The dual mass, which is very, very scarce around here. Apart from that, I think I'm tired of pressing the clutch. I've had my share of driving manual, But although I would be going automatic, it will still be shifted, semi-manual, because I do not have the finances to spring for the Olefeja controller, which will control the gear, as a standalone unit. There's another controller, MK Vero. but that requires I think it requires the TNC 3.5. I think it requires TNC 3.5, which I do not have. Then the PCB is quite complex. I plan on getting to it, later on, but at least for a start, I'm going to be using a repurposed Speeduino. So this Speeduino is a Speeduino board. This is made by WTM Tronics, a great guy, for the Speeduino firmware. This is a Arduino Mega 2560, and then this clips onto it. So the 722.6 requires 6 low side outputs. So on the NO2C is as if it was designed for it. Also has 6. So that's why I repurposed it for that purpose. So this will do well. I'll be using the VALAS 1.0 firmware to shift the automatic. That's VALAS 1.0. I saw it on the internet. So it will be shifted manually by buttons I've put on the steering wheel. So at least for a start, to get the car going, and eventually I might go to a fully automatic controller, maybe the Olefeger. There's also another one, I've forgotten the name, but check out Seaside Customs. I think he can build the MK Vero, which is also an open source, just like the VALAS firmware. So but eventually I'll get to a fully automatic shifting controller, but for now I'll make do with this, just to get the car going. So this is the plan. So I'll spend some weeks pinning the ECU, getting it wired up. The engine is right there at my veranda, so right now what is left is to get it installed into the vehicle. So eventually I think the radiator will have to be changed, because the outlets are in quite different positions, but I will still start the engine with the one in the car. Also, I think, what else? The radiator, the engine seat will be from a W124 with the native M111 engine. That will also be needed. I think I got that already. And then the intercooler for the compressor engine, I got one from a W203, which is quite larger from the one made for the W202, which I also have. So I'll be installing the one for the W203. The W203, I think the W230, the C230 with the M271 engine was boosted to around 11 psi. So I think maybe that was why they sprinted for a larger intercooler. So I'll be using that. So at least I think make things a little bit cooler, because in our region here we have very high temperatures. So I'll be doing that, and eventually maybe later in the year I'm going to get a larger crank pulley, which will be from what is this guy? I think Spear Tuning, SPEER Tuning. I'll be getting that to boost, to increase the boost coming out from the supercharger. So that will be done towards the end of the year. Maybe that was when I will also go for fully automatic gear controller. Maybe, I don't know, maybe once I test this out, I see maybe if I like it enough to keep it. So if not, then maybe by then I would spring for a fully automatic controller, the Olefeger unit or the MK Vero by Seaside Electronics, Seaside Custom. So I think that's about it for an update on what is going on with my W124. So thanks.